Yo, what's up, family? Before we start the video, please leave a like, subscribe, and share it in everyone that you can. Just get out there a little bit more. With that being said, let's get right into the video. The Boston Celtics avoided elimination last night, beating the New York Knicks 127-102 at home. Star forward Jaylen Brown had one of his most complete two-way games of his career at a much-needed time, and I wanted to take a look. So let's get into the film. All right, how y'all doing? I hope y'all doing good. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not, make sure you take your shoes off before you come in the house. And Jaylen Brown, again, had one of his best all-around games as a Celtic at a time where we really needed it. Avoiding elimination, he had 26 points, 8 rebounds, 12 assists, and was responsible for 58 points in this game as his 12 assists created 32 points. And Jaylen Brown's process and his poise and just the way that he saw the floor in this game, it never wavered, and it's so fitting that this is the first play of the game. We don't get a score, but it set the tone for what Jaylen Brown was doing in this game. A phenomenal pass to Al Horford as he drives. He did not settle on mismatches too often in this game, and it really showed, and it did a good thing for the Celtics. And it's kind of frustrating seeing this team be down 3-1 when you see so many good things happen in this game. You see the type of game Jaylen Brown has. You see the type of things that Joe Mazzulla does as a coach that makes the Celtics much better. And it's just so frustrating when you think of the things that they could have done in games 1 and 2. The offense was much more fluid in this game, as I'll have like a best sets action to show you guys that the Celtics just moved the ball better. They played the right way. And these are things that they could have did in games 1 and 2. Jaylen Brown could have played this way instead of having a lot of games where he's just playing one single half and scoring and then not being able to do anything. So it's just a lot of things that's frustrating from this game that shows that the Celtics are much better than the New York Knicks. Even without Jason Tatum, they can beat this team by 25 points. They've been up 14 points, at least 14 points in every single game. So they just had to be better with closing out and stuff like that. But again, Jaylen Brown was just making plays. He was drawing the defense, coming up the court right here, always attacking right there, draws 3-4 defenders. His Derek White in the corner, and a two-way ability of Jaylen Brown in this game is insane. We saw in the finals where he can hound a guy like Luka Doncic and still be a guy that you can rely on the offensive side of the ball. And there are truly games like this one where Jaylen Brown shows that he's one of the best two-way players in the league. And of course, a lot of things change when Jason Tatum is not playing. One of those things is a defensive matchup. So of course, Tatum was the one checking Karl Anthony Towns, but now we got Jrue Holiday checking him. And then that moves Jaylen Brown onto Jalen Brunson. And again, we saw this in the finals with Jaylen Brown guarding Luka Doncic. His athleticism on the ball can cause a lot of problems for an offensive player. He can get turnovers. He's athletic enough to get steals and then get out in transition and get easy buckets for the Celtics. And the ball pressure and the off-ball pressure is something that Jaylen Brown really thrives at. So this play was excellent denial by Jaylen Brown. He did not let Jalen Brunson touch this ball. So the Knicks try to go to their stagger action here. Jaylen Brown fights over both of the screens. Make sure he gets over top of Jaylen Brown. Josh Hart calls for the ball. They try to get him on the cut. Jaylen Brown does a nice job getting his hands in the passing lane and just being active. As you can see, the Knicks offense is just not a lot without Jaylen Brown. They do end up getting bailed out with 0.4 seconds left. But any possession you can force Jalen Brunson not to touch the ball on this New York Knicks team is a win for the Celtics. And driving mismatches is just so important. It's not that you're going to have a 100% conversion rate against Jalen Brunson, against Karl Anthony Towns, against Mitchell Robinson, but what it does to the defense, what it does to compromise the defense and draw them in when you consistently attack the matchup at hand, it just does so much for the Celtics offense. All right, so the initial thing that caused this is Jalen Brunson being switched on to Kristaps Porzingis. The Knicks scram switch that. But as they're scram switching, Jrue Holiday does a nice job. The timing of this is important. As Jalen Brunson is going out to Jaylen Brown, the pass is already going out there. And Jaylen Brown does a nice job of not selling, not bailing Jalen Brunson out, pump faking on Karl Anthony Towns, and gets the left-hand layup. And Jaylen Brown has some really impressive sustained defensive possessions. The amount of energy it takes to pick up Jalen Brunson full court all game, turn him 5 to 6 times of possession, and just make everything tough for him. Of course, he still got some shots off. Of course, he still got some points, but Jaylen Brown made everything super hard for Jalen Brunson. And for a guy to do this and didn't have 26 points, it didn't have 8 rebounds, it didn't have 12 assists, like this defensive job alone would be enough for the Celtics because it does so much for the defense that Jaylen Brown can do this to Jalen Brunson. So he avoids a couple screens, again, turning him 5 to 6 times of possession, right? His quickness, his athleticism, and his size is really a lot to handle for some offensive guys when he's locked in. and he forced a wild shot. And the poise that Jaylen Brown played with and the way that he read the floor in this game was just absolutely phenomenal. And we know that in transition, he's a one-man wrecking crew. And when he gets to the paint and he puts pressure on the defense, it opens up things for his teammates. He had 4 assists to Derek White in this game. This is one of them. And the thing about Jaylen Brown in this game, his mentality didn't waver. He kept doing the thing. Of course, he shot a couple threes, but he kept doing the thing. The Celtics in all 3 of their losses, it's tailored to half games where they come out in the first half and they look so good on the offensive side of the ball. They look so dominant into like the first half of the third quarter, and then they stop doing what works. Jaylen Brown is a part of that in a couple of those losses, of course, but in this game, his mentality didn't waver. His attacking mindset never wavered, and he kept doing what he needed to do for the team to be successful. Here with that little jab step right there, gets to the paint, draws OG Anunoby, draws Conley Towns. Conley Towns jumps. He has some phenomenal passes in this game, reading the defense and off his drives, gets a dump down to Luke Cornett. And again, when we talk about the one-man wrecking crew in transition, we saw him drive, put pressure on the defense, and it led to a Derek White 3. This time, he just used his athleticism. Look at that burst. Look, bro. Look at the burst right here by Jaylen Brown. Just immediately turns on the Jets, gets downhill, and scores. And these are the shots you don't necessarily love, but this is one of the best scores in the NBA. And when a guy is clearly giving him this jumper because he's backing all the way up, trying to contest his drive, like Jaylen Brown takes his shot. He should have got some free throws, but a tough make by Jaylen Brown. All right, so the Celtics go to Killer Will, pick and roll on the slot right here to get Jalen Brunson on to Jaylen Brown. And in the first couple of games in this series, these were hedges, right? It was the Knicks didn't want Jalen Brunson on Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. I'm sure they still wouldn't want that to happen, but they're giving up the switches a lot easier in these last couple of games. They're not hedging as much with Jalen Brunson because the Celtics were getting wide open opportunities off that. But what Jaylen Brown did in this game, attacking those mismatches, if it was Jalen Brunson, he was rising up over him. He was getting to the rim. Like, he wasn't settling on it. And this is not a contested shot. This is not a contested shot. Jaylen Brown is rising over Jalen Brunson, or he's going to the rim as he did all game right there to pull up mid-range. And again, the Celtics offense was just a lot more fluid. They ran so many things, so many actions to take advantage of the Knicks switching defense. They ran a lot of goal screens. They slipped a couple of screens, and the action that they ran really poked at the switching of the New York Knicks. So here, the first screen by Al Horford is to get Mitchell Robinson on Jaylen Brown. Then this ghost screen right there by Derek White forces Miles McBride to come up, but the Knicks don't communicate this well. They don't switch well. Derek White gets 3. All right, so here in this play, we got a good combination of a few actions. So it looked like the Celtics here, we're going to go to some Ram action. Of course, Ram is an off-ball screen set for somebody to go set a ball screen. This is usually where they initiate that at. So Drew sets that screen for Jaylen Brown, but it looks like he was going to go up to set the screen, but then he stops. So then Celtics get the ball to Drew Holiday. Then it looks like they were going to go to some Chicago/zoom action. Chicago or zoom action is a dribble handoff in which somebody receives a pin down to go get the dribble handoff. So it'll be Derek White setting his pin down right here for Jaylen Brown to go get the dribble handoff from Drew Holiday. But it just ends up being a good pin down by Derek White right there. Jaylen Brown comes off of it right here and gets a wide open 3. All right, so here in this play, the Celtics are looking to take advantage of some mismatches. We got Kristaps Porzingis setting the first screen to get Mitchell Robinson onto Jaylen Brown. Mitchell Robinson does a nice shot initially on Jaylen Brown, but as the shot clock goes down, the Celtics don't just stand around. We got Derek White coming to set this phenomenal screen on Mitchell Robinson. Gets Mitchell Robinson off of the body of Jaylen Brown, and where Mikal Bridges is, drop it down to the free throw line as Derek White sets the screen. Jaylen Brown sees that, attacks the space, and pulls up for the elbow jumper. And I speak a lot about the tailored to halves thing because in our 3 losses, the Celtics have been up by 14 points, at least 14 points in every single game in this series. The second halves, like the end of the third quarters and then the fourth quarters, the Knicks dominate us in the games that they won. The energy lacks so much in those games. Like the offensive energy, the organized offense, the driving, the cutting, the ball movement, it goes downhill. And then on the defense side of the ball, they're not horrible, but some things happen down the stretch of these games. I cannot express how important to me it was to see Jaylen Brown be this physical and set the tone on the first play of the third quarter. Like, it's not even that they started pushing and shoving. It's not even that. This screen by Josh Hart, Jaylen Brown runs directly through it, kind of starting this mess, right? But the fact that he's the guy that usually sets the tone, and this is the first defensive possession of the half where him and Josh Hart are going at it, I feel like this was important to the game. All right, so y'all, with the offensive rebound, Jaylen Brown does not let up on Jalen Brunson. He catches the ball in an immediate straight line drive, and you see what that does to the defense. Josh Hart comes off of the corner on Al Horford. We got Carl-Anthony Towns again about to try to contest the shot. And even when, like I said earlier, even when you don't make the shot, you're not going to have a 100% conversion rate on these mismatches. But when you drive them more often than not, it compromises the defense. Two guys try to contest Jaylen Brown, which means that Luke Kornet, the monster, is there for the offensive rebound. And this is the shit that wins championships. This is how you don't have to tell anybody that you didn't want to go home, because we could see it on the floor. This is a Tommy point. This is what you do right here. So Jaylen Brown does a nice job on his action. They tried to get Jalen Brunson off the ball, which is smart. So they set this flare screen for him, right? He comes off. He makes sure his hands are where the refs can see him. Then he chases. Does a nice job chasing him. Beats him to the spot. The athleticism and the size that Jaylen Brown has, when he uses this, he can be unstoppable on both sides of the floor. He jumps to where he thinks Jalen Brunson is going, right? Pokes the ball loose and lays out. Lays flat out. Saves the ball for the Celtics. Of course, you're going to get mobbed by your teammates when you do something like that. But then the attacking mentality, the physicality, the anticipation, stayed with it all night. He gets fouled. And another insane sustained defensive possession by Jaylen Brown on Jalen Brunson, showing absolutely everything on his possession. The ball denial, the ball pressure, the agility for a bigger guy guarding a smaller guy, and the shot contest at the end. Right here, he's trying to deny the ball. Jalen Brunson has to go out and get it. A cool screen set by Josh Hart. So now he's in chase mode. He ends up getting right back in front of him. And watch how he walks him down. Listen, no space. He did not give Jalen Brunson any space to be comfortable all game, right? He's backing up to half court, trying to reset, trying to get some space. No, Jaylen Brown is in his chest the entire night. I talked about the agility, the ball screen navigation there, going under that because Jalen Brunson's damn near at the hash mark. So he goes under it, and Jaylen Brown stays with him on the step back in a nice contest, and he misses. And he was just in total command of this offense, especially in the second half. Right here with the screen by Luke Kornet right there, getting OG off his body, driving the defense, compromising the defense, forcing rotations, forcing help, draws 3 Knicks defenders, makes an amazing pass out to Payne Pritchard, and he knocks it down. All right, so the Celtics go to 77 action. 77 is 2 drag screens or 2 on-ball screens. We got Luke Kornet set one here. We got Sam Hauser set one here. And like I said earlier, in the first couple of games, the Knicks were doing primary hedges with Jalen Brunson. They did not want any parts of him on Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown. In this game, they were much more content with just giving up the switch and not fighting and giving guys open space for him to get back to his man. So here, Jaylen Brown again. This is why it was super imperative in this game for him to keep attacking Jalen Brunson, keep the defense on his heels, compromise them. He drives. See that Jalen Brunson's hand is slanted there, so he goes up, he gets a foul. This might have been the most poised play I've ever seen Jaylen Brown make. You talk about not wavering in mentality, right? That's all the Celtics have done in all their losses. They've wavered in what works. They're up a lot in the fourth quarter, and this is what usually happens. They just start settling for threes. And if he would have shot this ain't even a settle, bro. This is a wide open look. But Jaylen Brown knew what the game needed. And you talk about growth. We always talk about guys trying to make leaps. We always talk about guys trying to grow. It's not always in the numbers. This is not a play Jaylen Brown's making 2 years ago. He catches the ball, has an open shot, sees Mitchell Robinson, pauses, licks his fingers, drives right past him as he did all night, draws Carl-Anthony Towns, the switcheroo. Look, did he got a tongue out like Jordan? Hold on, man. A great drop down with a left hand for Drew Holiday. All right, so the Celtics go to a really nice play. They go to Slob Elevator Spain, mixing a couple things. I thought this was a really good play to get Jaylen Brown a mismatch and an opportunity to score the ball. So here we have my favorite off-ball screen of all time, which is an elevator screen. So you got 2 people here. They're going to act as elevator doors, right? You got one side, you got the other side. Usually what's going to happen is this offensive player is going to go through the elevator doors, and when he goes through them, they're going to close just like an elevator. So when somebody gets on the elevator, it opens. When that person gets on, it closes. So they don't allow a defender to get through them. But Jaylen Brown doesn't go through them. He just uses them. We got the 2 screens right there. And then we're going to go right to Spain action. Of course, Spain pick and roll is a type of pick and roll in which a back screen is set on a ball screener's man. So Luke Cornett right here is the ball screener. We're going to have a back screen set on the ball screener's man, which here is Karl Anthony Towns. And then this guy, after he sets the back screen, he's going to come out to the 3-point line, right? So here on this first one, we got Luke Cornett setting the on-ball screen. Got a good back screen here by Peyton Pritchard. Karl Anthony Towns fights through it. But we do get OG Anunoby and Josh Hart switched off of Jaylen Brown. He takes Miles McBride right to the elbow with his shoulder and gets over him. And of course, we got some more good defense by Jaylen Brown. Seeing this pin down action coming for OG Anunoby, does a nice job almost getting the turnover there, but knocking the ball loose. And it was really impressive to see Jaylen Brown going at OG Anunoby, one of the best on-ball defenders in the NBA, just making him go every which way, putting him in a blender on some of these plays. And right here, passes out to Peyton Pritchard for the 3. And sometimes you're going to need one of the top scorers in the NBA to bail you out. Again, that snatchback on OG Anunoby works. The pump fake, he stays down, but it's just not enough. But that is the video. If you enjoyed it, please give a like, subscribe, and share it in everyone that you can. Just out there a little bit more. I will see you guys in the next video. This is Nick. Peace.